Yeah, the stars can never seem to align for Memphis basketball fans, even on Christmas. Heading into this weekend, the writing was on the wall for the Tigers and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Made Tiger fans wish they had finished up their Christmas shopping instead of packing out FedEx Forum. On Saturday, Memphis had another chance to prove that this Tiger team belongs at the top against a quality Mississippi State side, but instead they couldn't. Tyrese Hunter gets the scoring going with the long ranger. That 3-0 lead was the only one the Tigers would have all day long. Yeah, it was one of those ones. The Bulldogs going on an 18-2 run thanks to 10 points off of Memphis turnovers. Tigers trailing by as many as 24 in the game. PJ Haggerty and Tyrese Hunter doing all they could, combining for 43 points, but the Tigers just couldn't find a way out of the massive and early hole they dug for themselves.
This one loss is not going to define who we are because it's about the entire season. I'm smart enough to know now not to go crazy over one loss. It's just the way we lost it. It's the same way we lost the other two games, and you have to be better.
We really ain't got no excuse, honestly. I feel like they came out wanting it more than us. We just got to really just be consistent, with the energy that we give on certain games, whether we're on the road or at home. Just had that dog in that fight in us.
Yeah, so the Tigers now move to 9-3 on the season and drop out of the AP top 25. They're now essentially ranked 30 in the country. Mississippi State jump up. They're now in 19. What did you think of that game? We talked to Tyrese and Penny, obviously, post-game. I actually asked Tyrese further about that answer, saying, we just didn't show up to the fight. I said, what do you put that down to? Is that you guys just weren't really feeling it? Is it the same kind of energy that you came out with Arkansas State? And he said he could feel it pretty early on, that the guys just weren't ready to play. They just were tired. He said you couldn't really use the big week that they'd have, having to go play Clemson and Virginia on the road and getting those wins as an excuse. Yeah. He said it wasn't fatigue. They just really weren't up to it on that game, and it showed. I mean, the first couple possessions, you saw them, they had a couple big stops on Mississippi State, and you're like, okay, wow, this team showed up to play. And all of a sudden, it just dropped off. They couldn't get much to fall, but the turnovers is really what killed them early on. That run that Mississippi State went on was completely driven off of Memphis turnovers. Yeah. 10 points out of the 18 on that 18-2 run. You can't do that. I mean, we talk about playing against good opponents. You just can't turn the ball over that much against good opponents because you're limiting your ability to have shots. And when the shots aren't even already not falling, it makes things even harder.
Mississippi State at the beginning of the game was going with a half-court trap, and it didn't seem like Memphis was ready for it. Maybe it wasn't in the game plan. I haven't been watching. Excuse me, Rachel. You rubbed off on me.
Oh, don't blame the cost on me. Come on now.
You rubbed off on me. It didn't seem like they were ready for it. They kept getting trapped, basically, in the corners throughout the first half, and that's where you saw a lot of the turnovers come from. Also, bad shot selections from Memphis. That's due to Mississippi State overloading in the half court, putting a lot of double teams, continuing to trap. Memphis really couldn't figure it out, whether it was in the paint or getting good three-point looks. They had some, but then they missed it. You go in and they shot terribly in the first half. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but midway through the first half, they were 17% for the game, for the first few minutes.
There was a point in that game, so Tyrese Hunter got that first three, and then PJ Haggerty got the next 11 points for Memphis. No one else was getting anything to go in. And like we talk
Some
about,
of those were free throws too.
Yeah, right. And you talk about hero ball, and like he was the only one who could get the ball to go in. So of course you're going to keep feeding it to him because you're like, all right, well at least you're getting it to go in. But that's just not the way that Memphis succeeds the best. Is when the ball is only in his hands.
Well, and Penny said that he wants to get to 20 assists per game. They didn't get anywhere close to that, and they didn't look like they were going to get anywhere close to it. And yeah, they do want to let that ball fly, really feed that rock around. And they did try to do that, but that led to turnovers. That led to bad passes because when you're trying to pass out of a double team, Mississippi State know that. And even though there is an advantage because there's only 3 other guys guarding 4, they can still hedge. And that's what they were doing in the paint. That's why they weren't able to get the ball to guys like Dane Danger and Musa Cisse to really get them going in the paint. And then you have Colby Rogers, who goes 0 of 8 for the game. And he kept shooting the ball, really tried to get it going in the second half. Seemed like they wanted him to because they needed him to. But the only guy that could get it going was Tyrese Hunter, who had 13 in the second half. PJ didn't have a good second half. It does come down to effort. Mississippi State's a really good team. I think they're a tournament team. That was the best defense besides Auburn that Memphis has faced all year. Mississippi State had that swag, too. Memphis had none. It didn't seem like they had any at all. There was a lot of complaining on the bench, not about each other, but about themselves. Musa Cisse, throughout the game, kept yelling at himself on the bench. Nobody was really coming up and comforting him. You know, everybody's in their own heads. Penny has his rotation down. Is this the right rotation? That we'll see, but you and I agree on one piece on who should be starting, Dane Danger or Musa Cisse.
Yeah, I think to me, you got to start putting Dane Danger in that starting lineup. You talk about Memphis getting off to these slow starts, and one of them was obviously against Mississippi State on Saturday.
Right.
And a large part of that is because they're not getting the ball to go in, and Dane Danger just is outscoring Musa Cisse 10.6 points per game compared to Cisse's 5.1 points per game.
Right.
And that's, if you want to try and get that ignite, that fire going, put him in the paint, get some buckets up. He's also out rebounding. Cisse 6.9 rebounds to 5.7 rebounds. Obviously, it's not that significant of a difference, but it is still a difference if you're getting someone in there getting those boards. I think, to me, that's a change I want to see moving forward. Maybe give them a bit of different lineup to start. Maybe that'll give them a bit of an edge moving forward. You talk about some of the players being down on themselves, and that's something that Hunter was talking a lot about post game, and he was really in those huddles saying, "Come on, like we got to snap out of it." And he was saying, "We're letting a possession that happened 2 minutes ago stay in our heads."
Right.
And he's like, and then 10 possessions have happened since then, and they've scored however many points in that possession. He's like, we need to just snap out of it immediately and forget about it and be able to keep moving forward, because as soon as you start dwelling on those past things, you can't play what's right in front of you. And we talk about it all the time, playing what's in front of you and what you can see.
Yeah, and Hunter seems like a quiet guy. We don't know him, we don't see him off the court. But it's good that they have someone like that, because I can't think of anyone else on the team that really would be like that. In the past years, they've had guys who have been leaders. You go back and look at Malcolm Dandridge, who played here his whole career. He was a big leader of that team last year, even though it was not exactly a well put together team or a cohesive team. Then you have Kendrick Davis from 2 years ago, who was a big leader, Alex Lomax, DeAndre Williams, very vocal guys. This team doesn't really have a vocal leader, but it seems like Tyrese is kind of becoming that. When you were talking about Tyrese getting on his teammates in the huddles, I hadn't seen that up until this point. I don't know if you saw it in the Arkansas State game, but I have not seen that from him. And it wasn't like, all right, guys, we need to get this going. He was very much so in their face, off of his seat. Penny wanted that to happen. You could tell that he was kind of leaving room for someone to say something. And so that's going to go a long way this season, but the guys need to react to it. A lot of them seem like they're still figuring each other out, and Penny has said this, and he's going to continue to say this all season, and it's a fair point. This is the first season that these guys have played together. They're still figuring each other out. It seems like that they are open to figuring each other out and building chemistry, whereas last year it wasn't necessarily the case, which is a good thing, but it still needs to click. And when you see teams like Mississippi State play a high-pressure defense, if you play a team that doesn't have a lot of chemistry, you're going to lose that game 9 times out of 10 unless you have one of the best players in college basketball, Memphis Dude, PJ Haggerty. But it wasn't, it wasn't the case this one.
Yeah.
So I think that as you continue to build this chemistry, you get this team firing at 100%, then Memphis can get back to where they looked after the Maui Invitational coming back.
Yeah, to me, it was obviously an ugly loss, right? You don't want to see that on Memphis's record moving forward, but it also wasn't that big of a deal. I'm looking at their schedule and I'm going, okay, they still have more quad 1 and quad 2 wins over any other team in the entire country right now. They also came off a really tough road stretch. We said, or I said at least, going into those final 4 games of non-conference, that I wanted them to at least win 2, hopefully 3 out of the 4. So if they end up finishing this stretch by winning those first 2, Clemson, Virginia, lose in a bit of a blowout loss really to Mississippi State, and then are able to pick up a win against Ole Miss, I'm okay with that. And I think Penny even said that post-game that he would be okay with them heading into conference play with a 10-3 record. I think the thing is if they can actually do that. How do they respond now going against Ole Miss? We saw the response after Arkansas State. They go and they get it done and do it very dominantly. Now can they respond again and keep things moving along? And I think the way they show up on Saturday against Ole Miss is going to be very telling.